Hello, everyone. My name is Jordyn Smith, and I am the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. So, I am going to give you a um, an astrological forecast for this week. So, I'm going to put this out on Sunday, so we're going to start with January 19th. And we're going to get into a few things here. As you know, in the US on the 20th, there is the inauguration of the 47th president that is going to be happening. I will share that chart and I will talk about a few things with that. But then I'm going to also just share the transits of the week. So when I talk about the inauguration, I'm going to really be talking about a collective thing, especially here in America, and that will transpire to other countries. I feel like because America has an impact on other countries, just as other countries impact upon Americans. It's a natural occurring truth that we all have an impact upon each other. Um, Before I get into this, your weekly forecast and a little bit on the inauguration. Oh, the other thing I want to say is the rest of the week, I will be just sharing things that you can utilize more on a personal level. And then you can implement that more on a collective level as well if you want. So, um, I wanted to say that the workshop that I'm doing for the nodes and how to utilize them in your chart filled up, I think, within 24 hours. If you all are wanting another workshop, I've had one person reach out and ask to be put on a list. If there are 4 more of you who would want to be a part of that, either email me or comment down below. I will put you on a list. And if there's 5 of you, then I will make another one and I will email each one of you. Or, I'll put it up where you can sign up on my website for that workshop as well, and I'll announce it. Um, so the other thing is Capricorns, you have 2 days left to purchase a birthday special if you want to. Then on the 20th, it's going to transfer over to Aquarius birthday special. So that's pretty much the announcements that I have. So without further ado, let's get into your weekly forecast. What I want to say is there is an asteroid that I really want to talk about right now that I feel like is prominent that I have not talked about before. And she is prominent in the transits that are going on this week, and especially in tandem with the nodal axis. And so before I show charts, I really want to help you all connect with this asteroid. And her name is Aletheia. And Aletheia is a asteroid in the main belt in between Mars and Jupiter. She's one of the larger asteroids. She was discovered June 28th, 1886 in New York, in Clinton, New York, at the observational center there. And anyway, Aletheia in Greek mythology was known as the daughter of Saturn. Um, there's some mysteries around her. She is known as a daemon or a personified spirit. And the other thoughts are that she was created by Prometheus instead of being born to Saturn. So it's a really interesting story. Pretty much this was what she was known for. Aletheia was whenever she was younger, she was a virgin, meaning she was a woman who stayed hold on to herself, meaning she chose not to ever be married. And that reflects not submitting to the patriarchy, which is a really good any of the goddesses that come up that are known as virgins are really reflecting the sacred principle of staying whole unto oneself and not submitting to the patriarchy is what it's reflecting. All right. If you're wanting to look at the archetype of what that is meaning. But Aletheia in Roman culture, when they adopted Greek mythology, was known as Veritas. And Veritas has her own asteroid as well, but there's a difference between the meaning or the translation of both. Whereas Veritas is more about justice, Aletheia is rooted because of her myth about the naked truth. And as the myth goes, um, she was a woman who was a virgin who was very mm, honest and sincere. And she wanted to learn more about the honesty and sincerity and the truth of the soul. So she really is an asteroid that reflects truth and honesty. And um, in the myth, because she was wanting to know about this, she prayed to the goddess Athena to help show her. And so Athena had a mirror, a magical mirror crafted for her, that if you were to look into the mirror, it would show the truth. And so Aletheia went around, you know, when people wanted to know the truth of something, she would hold up the mirror and it would reveal the truth. There's different stories about how this happened around when people were being deceitful or having deceptions, and then the mirror would reveal the truth. The other thing about Aletheia is that she was so revered even before this mirror was crafted for her. The Oracle of Delphi would even call upon her because of how honest and sincere and truthful that she was. So she really corresponds to Pisces and to Sagittarius. She's connected to those signs. So it's interesting because Veritas is more of justice, but um, her Roman counterpart, but Aletheia is more of exposing or mirroring the truth, hence the naked truth, which I find interesting because in natural law, the truth doesn't need to be defended. It is just what it is. And so I wanted to bring this up to show you that the transits throughout this week, she is very, very pronounced and prominent within these transits. Um, in a natal chart, it can show us where we can have things mirrored to us through others around the truth of who we are. That can be revealing. It can also be where things can be exposed to us that maybe we were deceiving ourselves about something. And so it can be exposed back to us in order for us to confront our actual truth. Um, the way I see it in a natal chart is very much if we've bought into some type of belief or we've submitted to a belief system that is not based in natural truth, um, we can have the experience with Aletheia in our chart to expose that dynamic in order for us to understand a personal truth and have it mirrored back to us, in order for us to live more authentically and spiritually. So this goes right in alignment with these nodes. If you want to know more about the nodes in Virgo Pisces, I have now written 2 articles on my website. I will link them down below if you haven't checked them out. The first one just really goes into that archetype of what these nodes are for this cycle, what they're bringing up. And the second article is really tapping into the North Node, Pisces, and then the transits of Neptune and Saturn, corresponding with pure emotion and what that means, and how most of us have suppressed that function within us. And pure emotion is where we are able to experience the totality of the range of emotions that each one of us sense and feel without suppressing them. And pure emotion are strong emotions, and they can be anger, sadness, joy, love, compassion, empathy. there are paradoxes to all of our emotions, and it also speaks to when we feel confused about experiencing two emotions at once. That really is reflecting this conditioning that each one of us have had around how there's good emotions and bad emotions, when really the Piscean total truth of that is all emotions are neutral. They're all a opportunity for us to learn about something um, going on inside of ourselves. And that's really important with this transit with the North Node and Pisces, is that's where we're wanting to go towards. And so we're having to re-experience these Virgo-like things of where we've denied emotions or where we've made excuses for certain things. And so when we experience a pure emotion, an intense emotion through sensation and feeling, which is more of Venus, Pisces is corresponded to well, Neptune, its ruler, is the higher octave of Venus. So when we experience pure emotion, it's really helping us deepen our connection to our inner relationship to self, because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And it's also giving us context to what is going on with our relationships with others. And confusion can come about whenever we have suppressed or denied our own emotional dynamics, or we've bought into delusive Pisces belief systems around what happens whenever we are feeling and sensing a pure, intense emotion. So it's really important for us to, throughout this nodal cycle, improve upon being able to just honor whatever comes up for us on an emotional level, because it's going to teach us about what it is that actually needs to be improved within us, what emotional dynamics or um, you know, what issues in the day to day. So I find it interesting that Aletheia is sextile the South Node in Virgo and trining the North Node in Pisces. So this is a week that could really be exposing the naked truth to us, something that we're needing to understand about ourselves. And Aletheia is in the sign of Scorpio. And so it's confronting us with these emotional dynamics and confronting us with the truth about them in order for us to understand the psychological effects of where we've denied or made excuses for certain emotional dynamics. And then Aletheia is ruled by Pluto and Aquarius, which is really about us liberating from the over-identification with the known and familiar in order for us to transform. So there's a lot going on. And then Aletheia on the 23rd is going to move into Sagittarius, a sign that she loves, and is then going to be ruled by Jupiter retrograde in the sign of Gemini. So that can really be where we are, whatever we're being confronted with on an emotional level, we're really being asked and called to get into the pure emotion, to allow it to wash over us in order to give us information. Remembering Mercury is the South Node's ruler and will be, Jupiter's ruler, is Jupiter's ruler, about where we need to take accountability, Mercury and Capricorn, in order to improve upon our own emotional patterns or the things that have been playing out in our lives, whether it's these beliefs that we're coming to understand are illusions and not truth, whether about ourselves, whether about other people, or whether it's about the choices that we've made where we've been invested in believing some type of certain dynamic. So I wanted to share this chart with you, well, these charts. So I'll point this out. This is for Sunday, January 19th. And what you can see is Aletheia is here at 28 degrees on this day. And again, sextile, the South Node, trining Neptune, and the North Node, and is ruled by Pluto in Aquarius. So it's speaking to what I just said. It's really helping us to tap into this function. And then we have the ruler of the South Node, Mercury in Capricorn, helping us to take accountability for what it is that we're needing to Virgo-like improve on in order for Saturn and Pisces, its ruler, to restructure our consciousness and to have healing promoted. All right. This day is also when the sun moves into Aquarius. So happy birthday, Aquarius. That means that throughout this transit, the sun is going to be ruled by Uranus, retrograde in Taurus, which is speaking and reflecting back to this Venus, who, by the way, on this day is in a new phase conjunction with Saturn. So the sun is really speaking to, through transit, where we are called to creatively actualize and how we're meant to do that. And that's seen through its facilitator. So right now, this is truly about liberation and self-actualizing through creative transformation is really what this is speaking to. And that creative transformation is facilitated by Uranus and Taurus retrograde. The need to throw off these old value systems or the ways in which we've over-identified with different kinds of values or beliefs, or even the way that we talk to ourselves. If you pay attention to your inner listening, how do you talk to yourself? This is also helping us to really have creative transformation and having aha moments around past instances where we've had traumatic events happen, and to really look at whether or not we have over-identified with that, where it's impeded upon our own inner self-worth, and how we're needing to transform, becoming more emotionally self-reliant through this function. And with Uranus ruled by Venus and Pisces, this really promotes a healing and also a release of these past dynamics. And with Venus in a new phase to Saturn, it's really about us cultivating more values that are in alignment with the actual truth and not illusions or ideals that really could perpetuate crisis, okay? Venus is approaching Neptune, and for the next week and a half, this is really where we can be called to release a lot of dynamics, especially that were seeded into our consciousness during the when the nodes were in Libra and Aries. So the work that you were doing, it's wanting to culminate that. That way, more self-improvement can be initiated since the lunar nodes have transitioned into Virgo and Pisces. So again, lots of allowing oneself to feel whatever it is that they need to feel in order to heal, and then also allowing oneself to observe it in order for a transformative and a healing process to occur. This is also a time with the South Node and Virgo for us to, if there are Virgo-like things that you're needing to do in the day-to-day for self-improvement, this Venus could really help us to declutter and to let go of things. So if you've got stuff in your house that you feel like in your mind there's a lot of confusion, with these mutable energies of Pisces and Virgo going on, it's where if we create a little action by maybe going through our house and letting go of the things that we've given meaning to that we're not using, and maybe donating them or doing whatever, releasing them, it can actually declutter the mind and induce self-improvement as well. So it also helps with this whole creative transformative process that we're wanting to have right now. That's also doubled down with Pluto, okay? So when we're speaking of Aletheia with this is where also, over the course of this next week, we can be, especially the next two, no, 3.5 days, this is where I'm going to stop this and then I'll bring it back up. This is where we could, in Virgo, I talked about this a little bit in my nodes video, is the South Node of Virgo is bringing up prior dynamics that we're needing to make new choices about. And with Virgo, it can be where we're feeling the need to fix something, to improve upon something. But Virgo is so mental that it can start to look outside of itself to fix things instead of looking inward. And Aletheia, with this transit sextiling the South Node and trining the North Node, can really bring up instances for us, because Aletheia is in Scorpio, where we are confronted and the truth is exposed. It's the naked truth of this is here for you to not get hung up in guilt or shame. It's here for you to utilize this as a catalyst, to be catalytic, Scorpio, in order to gain improvement and to release and to transcend North Node and Pisces inner emotional limitations around where we weren't seeing the truth of something occurring within us. Okay. So then what I want to share is, you know, the I'm going to go over the day of the inauguration in a minute on a collective level, but the next day on the 20th, we've got Aletheia in the same combination with the North and the South nodes. If you look here, oh, it's not going to let me do it. But she's at 29 degrees Scorpio, and Mars is sextile to Uranus, and Mars is in Cancer with the Libra moon. So this can really be where we have it could be shocking. Something shocking could come up for us around emotional dynamics. This could be through that Aletheia function. In order for us to look at the emotional extremes that maybe we thought we dealt with that we haven't quite dealt with yet. That's also seen with Mars being ruled by this moon in Libra. And really what you need to do is you need to take it as an opportunity for creative transformation. The sun is conjunct Pluto, so there's an intensification of this energy of exposure, could be shocking, in order for us to confront something that we've denied within ourselves. And then what I wanted to speak to is on January 23rd, we have, I'm going to do something really quick. Okay. I'm going to stop this. That way I can annotate this for us all. Oops. Let's see here. Bear with me, y'all. Okay. Then on the 23rd, we have Aletheia, who's moved into the sign of Sagittarius at 0 degrees, is now ruled by Jupiter and Gemini retrograde. Its ruler is Mercury, and Mercury is opposing this Mars retrograde in Cancer, ruled by this moon in Scorpio, who is sextile the South Node and trining the North Node and Neptune. So lots of repeating signatures this week, which is what you like to look at as an astrologer. So you've got the ruler of the South Node and the ruler of the North Node really coming in to play a big role, okay? It's speaking to something of the past and new choices needing to be made. So if you have been being confronted with truths being mirrored back to you or exposed, this is a day where, again, this can happen even more. But what this is doing is helping you throw off maybe how an inner truth is connected to an internalized belief. Like an internalized belief is perpetuating a situation. This is seen with Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini retrograde, by the way. And this is seen as it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've bought into something so much that it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're living on through an emotional dynamic that is replaying over and over again. And so there's a need through the confrontation to throw off the beliefs. And it can be triggered, an emotional trigger can happen that helps us oppose our thinking, right? Mercury, the types of thinking that we have tethered to a belief that are exposing an emotional pattern that we're needing to understand about ourselves. And it's to throw this off through taking personal accountability about our own patterns and then making a new choice, right? And the thing about the moon and Scorpio that it's reflecting is it's ruled by Pluto. It can help us to transform this, okay? Through just acknowledging it, taking accountability, and then taking the steps to improve it. South Node and Mercury. That moon in Scorpio is also speaking to, especially with Althea in Sag, it's really speaking to, in the sign of Scorpio, we're being confronted with who we are, who we aren't, and who we are absolutely not going to be. And so that's where we can have these situations come up, South Node sextiling this moon at this time, where we're confronted with what it is we need to improve. I don't want to be like this anymore. This truth about myself was exposed. This dynamic of where my thinking has connected to a pattern of emotional dynamics that I'm no longer wanting to experience. I don't like how this feels. And so this signature for this day can really teach us about taking accountability, not getting stuck in self-defeating thinking that's seen with that Mercury, but instead just taking accountability. Okay, I see this as a pattern. I want to change it. This is absolutely who I do not want to be anymore. So let me improve upon this. That also means that I'm going to have to get into these Piscean pure emotions to do some scorpionic investigative work. And that's that moon trining the North Node and Neptune. And then this has the ability to really, again, transform our inner relationship to self, to promote healing. It can also help us with this dynamic of, if you have Virgo, we can get really locked into feeling victimized by a circumstance and then just replaying it over and over and over in our mind. And this could be a pattern that you're being confronted with, whether it be through someone else or maybe even watching this video is helping you have an Aquarian kind of aha moment. But the key is to notice if there's a nuance of victimization going on in your life with this moon transit to the south and the north nodes and Mars opposing Mercury in that chart and Althea entering into Sag and being ruled by that Jupiter, who's also ruled by that Mercury opposing Mars. This is where needing to look at the nuances of, am I just focusing, complaining, venting, talking about this without making a different choice or an action to create? That Mars retrograde is asking us to create an action. Or am I just stuck in thinking about this and thinking about all the ways, especially if it's pertaining to someone else, that they're not doing something right? Well, what can you do? That's what you need to think about. What is something that you can do to improve? Does that mean to have a conversation with them about how you're feeling? Does that mean having better boundaries with people? Does that mean improving upon your boundaries, figuring out what they are? Is that about being confronted with some type of idyllic belief and all of a sudden it's being exposed that it's an illusion? Well, don't get down on yourself. This is about forgiving yourself for not understanding or forgiving yourself for, um, not listening to or taking the wisdom that you've learned from the past. What you do, you stand up, dust yourself off, acknowledge it, take accountability for the choices that led you there, and then create some action because that will change your mindset and it will promote more healing and surrendering and release and decluttering that could be going on. So, in this chart, Mercury is also trine to Uranus. So it's like even through just accepting and taking accountability for something that's coming up for you can be transformative. It can just be like, now I can move through this. And then we have on January 26th, we have Mercury trining the South Node and sextile to the North Node and Neptune. And this is really this type of trine is called a first quarter trine, which can speak to we are being confronted with a non-growth pattern. And this can be around a victimization or a suppression or a denying of looking at the truth, even though we're taking in the information, but we want to make an excuse. There's all sorts of ways that this could manifest, but it's really speaking to really understanding that there's something that's come to a standstill and is a non-growth situation, but it's a trine. So it's if we use our ability to make a correct judgment call, Mercury and Capricorn, and to make a choice to do something different, we can adapt to the situation. And adaptability is seen within Virgo and Pisces. And then through doing that and taking that action, then we can have a sense of release and healing that can go on. So again, there's lots of energy this week that I quite frankly like whenever I think, let me go back. I think with Mercury and Capricorn ruling the South Node and then Saturn and Pisces ruling that Mercury, a lot of us could have been or be experiencing this like I feel like I'm kind of at a standstill with growth. There's something going on, but I'm not sure what it is. And it's really bothering me. And then this is a week where if we really want to understand what that is, it can be exposed. We could learn about it, and then that way we don't feel so stuck. I have a sneaking suspicion that for a lot of us, this is dealing with a kind of cardinal dynamic, meaning that, and this is because Mercury is in Capricorn ruling that South Node, meaning that this can be an issue where we thought that we dealt with it because we took the first steps in the past, but maybe we haven't really noticed that we are going back to the familiar way of dealing with it. And so it can be almost like a mental trap that that feels hidden from us, but we're sensing that something's going on. And that's seen with Saturn and Pisces ruling that Mercury. And so again, I really love the energy with Althea this week because it could be where the naked truth is exposed about what it is that we need to confront in order to start making or taking steps for change and to promote more healing. And this is really a week of self-improvement. Now, this gets me into, now that I've gone through all of this week and we have talked about how to utilize this on a personal level, let's take a look at some of these transits for the day of the inauguration on the 20th. And I am not God. I do not have a crystal ball. I am not going to channel a message for you. That's not what I do. I do not have, as many of you feel like I can channel, which I feel like I should feel flattered, but I just know that that's not what I can do. I'm not going to say that I can do that. There are people who can, though, and perfect. That is not one of my gifts from God. Um, so what I can do is I can use my Saggy and Virgo energies in my chart and synthesize this and tell you what I'm sensing, what I'm intuiting, and what I'm feeling. And um, yeah, I can tell you through the archetypes of this chart what I feel and sense and intuit um, what this chart of this event is initiating. All right. So that is what I'm going to do. I just wanted to make myself really clear about that. Uh, because yeah, you know, I just want to be honest and sincere. So here we go. So this is the inauguration for the 47th president. It's happening at 9 a.m. in Washington, D.C. on January 20th. I want to, and this chart is for that place and time, so I can use the houses. The things we want to really look at is this Pluto-Sun conjunction, these nodes, the moon. Um, the rulers of the south node, Mercury, and the north node, that's wonky. This sextile between Mars retrograde, Uranus, and Jupiter is technically trining this Pluto. Ceres is a power player in here as well. And then I want you to take a look at Althea here, who is trining this north node, sextile this south node, and we could say that she's also trining this Mars if we want. It's still within orb. So she's making a grand trine between North Node, Neptune, Mars. All right. That's a lot going on this page. So the other thing is this moon is square this Mercury. So in this chart on a collective level, the moon is indicative of the people. And it is in the eighth house. So there is something here that is wanting us to be confronted with around extremes and where it is Venus and Pisces that we're needing to dissolve them, dealing with values. And that Mercury and Moon are in what we call a last quarter square to each other. That can really speak to it. And a last quarter square has a Aquarian feel to it. So this is where we can either absolutely hold on to something or absolutely start to act on throwing it off. But there is a crisis in consciousness or belief about something. So some of this is going on, but this chart is really indicating this 4-year cycle of this presidency. So what we can deduce by a South Node and Virgo and the 7th is that throughout this time period of these 4 years, we, as on a collective level, the American people, are going to be reliving prior experiences, South Node, of a Virgo-like nature, of where we might have denied or excused certain dynamics, especially dealing with Capricornian authority. And because of the denying and the excusing, the North Node is going to give us choices, and the way that this can induce it is through crisis, Virgo. The trigger is having disillusioning experiences in order for us to confront the truth. Now think about Aletheia at 29 degrees Scorpio. This dynamic is speaking to whatever goes on the next 4 years is going to expose the naked truth and hold up a mirror of ninth house dynamics of where we've bought into beliefs and untruths and lies, all right? And how it's going to be exposed. What once was hidden, Pisces, is now going to be revealed. The exposing is going to come through the Scorpio confrontation. And this can also happen through us having to re-experience crisis. And then what that can ultimately do through that Venus, through that moon, Mercury square, is it can confront us with these extremes of where we've done this or how there's been divisiveness. And then that can help us throw off all of these kind of patriarchal dynamics or these illusions. Mercury is ruled by this Saturn and Pisces that have been unconscious or delusional in nature, and the need for us to take accountability for our own choices around leadership on a collective 11th house social government way, Capricorn. And what this can actually end up perpetuating and helping us is it can help us transform Pluto and Aquarius. And that will be through having to look at the values. Uranus is facilitating that and the need to throw them off. Values that have perpetuated extremes because they are distortions of natural law, meaning that they are rooted in exclusion and what is the word I'm looking for? Just selfish dynamics. That's also seen with Mars retrograde in the 5th house. Self-serving is what I would say, and it being ruled by this moon in Libra in the 8th. So throughout the next 4 years, and I'll get into this series in Aquarius in a minute, but over the next 4 years, we will re-experience things of the past where we did not deal with them. And we can have mass collective disillusioning experiences to trigger a crisis on a collective level in order for us to start to have community come together in order to improve. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini in that chart is really helping us to, as we are confronted with the naked truth, this Aletheia in this chart, exposing dishonest lies, deception, it can help us to throw off these dynamics in order for improvement to come into play. It's interesting for us to think about because the nodal cycles the nodal cycle that happened before this one, um, the Libra Aries one, as soon as those nodes entered Libra and Aries, Pluto was at 29 degrees and it was squaring those nodes. That was for us to make a choice, and the resolution was that South node in Libra, Pluto, and again, Capricorn, for us to look at the ways in which we had structured our systems and the need for us to resolve where there had been extremes and divisiveness going on. We did not do that. And we are even seeing this not on a government level. We're also seeing how when we give positions of authority over to, when we give power and authority over to people who do not have our best interest, who have um, self-interest and elitist type of values, what it ends up doing is it hurts the whole. And I feel like on a collective level, there are a lot of people who are hurting, who are wanting to see something happen different in the government systems, and it's just not working. And so they felt like they were having to pick the lesser of two evils, okay? Or this or that. There's a lot of variables. If you live here in America, you saw it go down. But this inauguration chart, this event chart, really speaks to the next 4 years that are being initiated. The things that, the illusions, the delusions, the ideals are going to be exposed. There will be things that come up, even dealing with the land and our resources, because we don't have people who are really, just think about how a lot of people, the reason why they voted is because there's so much inflation and it is hurting them. It's hurt me. Oh my God. Like it's hard to survive right now. Uranus and Taurus. And so looking to find a solution, but not choosing the correct one, or choosing one where there was leadership involved that's not looking at the bigger picture, the total truth, Pisces. And that even means how we are sharing our resources with others, and also our relationship with Gaia and what we're doing with our natural resources here in America, and how that kind of, not kind of, it perpetuates crisis too. We're seeing it with the fires out in um, California, where I live. There's been so many tornadoes. We've seen bigger and bigger hurricanes come. And so with Pluto and Aquarius, that's where we can have atmospheric dynamics change because of global warming and the misuse of resources. And again, it can bring up these crises. I think it's really important. I think a lot of people feel like some big change is going to happen through collective enlightenment, and that is not how humans work. How humans work is we change through crisis and community coming together. And guess what? A South Node in Virgo is an archetype of crisis, and community coming together is the sign of Aquarius. So we will see over the next 4 years these confrontations of the naked truth being exposed. Some people are going to have disillusioning experiences, but maybe what that can do is that can get them to make a different choice in order to improve. Maybe they want to start educating people about um, that, or maybe there are people who want to start educating people about more innovative ways, Pluto and Aquarius, um, of how to utilize our natural resources, Uranus and Taurus. So whatever comes up over the next 4 years, government structures, our resources, values, beliefs, all of this is up for grabs. And what I can say and what I'm seeing is um, re-experiencing, reliving in order for us as the people to make new choices and to also hold ourselves accountable instead of looking to authority figures to fix it. I feel like this is where we can start to look at more people educating themselves on government, more people educating themselves on ways to improve, all different ways. So I wanted to bring that up, but I did find that Althea is very, very powerful in the inauguration chart. Just because she is sextile the south node and trining the north node on that day does not mean that something could be exposed that day. It could. It might not be as literal as that. It can also just reflect instances of things being exposed and having a mirror held up to the collective within America over the next 4 years. All right. So I feel like this has been a long video. I hope you all have a beautiful week. Use this. I feel like the people who are watching this, we know what's going on. This is just reflecting and validating. Use this week to enact change, and to cultivate change and improvement and making new choices to whatever it is that gets revealed and exposed for you personally. Um, use it as a catalyst for transformation. Look at it as a growth opportunity. Look at it as a blessing. For some, it could be a blessing in disguise. But this is a week that could be really powerful, especially with this initiation of these nodes and the energies that are going on. Um, Time will tell over the next 4 years dealing with the 47th and um, and our government systems, what they're going to do. Um, so yeah, what I can say is from crisis, a lot of growth can happen. Think about any time you've had a crisis in your life, how that has been catalytic to your own evolutionary growth. So let's look at the positive side of that. Anyway, have a beautiful week. Um, those of you, if you want to sign up for another workshop working with these nodes, what I would have you do is just please email me. You can find my email on my website. All right. Okay. I will see you all soon.